Welcome to my very first tea time. I have my tea. I'm supposed to be sharing my tea, but I do feel like at this point in my life there's not very much tea to spill. Since it's technically my first kind of real introduction on YouTube, I thought I would tell you some fun facts. Sorry if I keep looking over here, it's where my mirror is. Actually, maybe let's move it. If this is the first time you're seeing any of my content, I am mostly over on TikTok. I started posting videos about 4 to 5 years ago, and after a year of posting I was able to go full-time, and it's been 3 years of doing this full-time. Prior to being a part of this world of beauty and social media, I was a college student. I graduated in 2019 with a bachelor's in neuroscience and a minor in philosophy. I've always loved school. I feel like there needs to be a catch-up between then and now, just to kind of explain a lot of like what goes on in my brain these days. It just helps to know kind of where I started. If you decide that you want to be a doctor, there are just clear steps that are taken. For example, in university, you don't necessarily have to have a specific major and graduate with a specific degree, but you do need to fulfill certain prerequisites. So you have to have certain classes under your belt. And either while you're still in school or once you graduate, you study for the MCAT, which is an entrance exam that you need to take in order to apply to medical school. A lot of people also at this time decide to do some kind of shadowing or clinical experience, just kind of being in a hospital setting and being able to put that on your resume and kind of present a strong application. Bringing you back to my timeline, I graduated from college. Following graduation, I mean, I also had a lot of personal things going on, but as far as like what I was planning on doing with my life, I was studying for the MCAT around this time, and I was doing this job called scribing, where you basically go with, you shadow a physician into all of their patient rooms, and you write down everything that's happening. Then COVID happens. COVID was a wild time for so many people. For me, it meant that I got furloughed from my job. Basically, they said, we don't know what's happening, this could be dangerous, we don't know how dangerous, so stay home until we call you back. A week goes by, a month goes by, 2 months go by, no news. I'm skipping a lot of parts here, but around this time is basically when I started going through some mental health things, but this is also when I started posting my videos. The reason that I explained all that stuff at the start about my context is because I was so used to being a go, go, go kind of person. For me, it was always about achieving the best that I could in this moment, while simultaneously thinking about the next moment, how I was going to get there quickly, efficiently, and achieve the best in that moment as well. And because of COVID, for the first time in my life, I had to pause. And I had to think about, what is it that I really want? And if that had changed since the last time I had ever thought about it, which was a long time ago at that point, because I had just achieved all the way through college without stopping to think maybe this isn't what I want anymore. I started posting my videos. I remember being so excited about it, and it wasn't because I was getting views. I wasn't really getting much of anything at that time. It wasn't because I was getting noticed by brands. It wasn't because I was making money. It was just because I was talking about something that I was incredibly passionate about. Even when I got 1 comment, 6 comments, it meant the absolute world to me. I think there's something really powerful that happens when you talk about something that you're excited about and the world listens. Like I mentioned, I was going through some mental health things around this time, and there wasn't a lot that got me up out of bed excited for the day. I know it sounds really silly, but at the time I would go to Target, or I would go to Ulta or Sephora or Nordstrom Beauty, and sometimes I would buy a lip product, sometimes I just would look, and that it was enough for me to get excited. It sounds silly, but how could it be silly if that was the one thing that made me feel alive? It feels not cringy, but it feels almost unfamiliar saying that now, because I'm at such a different place in my life and I have a different perspective. I feel like I'm talking about somebody else when I say that makeup was the only thing that got me out of bed. But if you've ever been through depression or depressive episodes, you know that it can really come down to that. I'm crying for my first YouTube video. I felt like something clicked in my head around that time. If I found something that makes me feel this way about life and about myself, then why would I not pursue it? But it was bizarre because, like I explained at the start, what I was pursuing prior had such a defined and structured pathway, whereas something like this for me was completely uncharted territory. I don't have parents that are business owners or entrepreneurs or creatives. So to think about turning something that I find fun, a hobby, into a career, it was definitely nerve-wracking, was definitely a challenge in my head. There aren't really clear steps. Nobody's telling you what needs to be done, when it needs to be done by, and how you're supposed to get from point A to point B. And it's not that I thought I was not capable of it, it's more so that it was a different way of thinking, and that was a challenge. Fast forward to now, I am beyond joyful. I would do it again, no hesitation. Talking about all of this on YouTube, what my intentions are, I actually did a video similar to this on TikTok called Tea Time. I just had a cup of tea, I was chatting with you. I forget if I was even applying makeup or not. I might not have been. And I was shocked at the number of people that enjoyed these kinds of videos from me. Beauty is always gonna be there. You know, I'm gonna find my channels and avenues to talk about that passion. But here on YouTube, I really want to focus on that idea of connecting, because really, I think back on those first comments that I would receive on my TikTok, and those are the comments that truly kept me going. And just like back then, I'm not overthinking, you know, how many people are watching this. There could be 2 of you or 2 million of you, but for me, it matters most that the people that are here align with what I'm about. I don't care about having 2 million people around me that I feel like I need to be somebody else for. If I need to emulate a certain vibe or change myself in order to keep those people around, then ultimately it's not for me. And that's something that I apply to my personal life as well. There's not a point to having a crowd of people like me for a version of me that's not really me. On TikTok, there were ways that I could have grown at a more rapid rate and been invited into certain rooms. But what I'm proud of is that I never wanted to get into those spaces by being anybody other than myself. I found myself recently at a place in my life that I didn't expect to be in. I felt that I had established like for the most part a sense of peace as far as like the life that I want to be moving towards, the people that I want to surround myself with, etc. But the situation that I was in was one that tested my boundaries a bit. It was not ideal, but what I'm learning kind of coming out of that is that I am so much more in tune with myself, what I like, what I don't like, what I feel good around, what I don't feel good around. And that to me is a huge win going into the new year, because it's teaching me, you know, where I've gotten in my life is a place where I am sure of myself. Even if there's chaos around me, I feel peace inside. That's actually something that I had written down as a 2024 New Year's resolution, which I'm really happy about now, a year later, knowing that I have more of like a radar. I think I wrote something down like trust your gut more. New Year's resolutions are tricky for me. Even though I grew up my whole life setting resolutions, sometimes they make me feel like January is the only time that I can set goals for myself. And the reason I don't like that kind of thinking is because in the past I was on autopilot. I was cruising and didn't take the time to reassess and check in with myself about what I wanted. Now I like to check in with myself very regularly about what I want and where I'm headed, because I don't want to look back in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years time and wonder why in the heck I spent my time this way. Anyways, that's why January doesn't feel super crazy or different for me, because I feel like I'm constantly thinking about what feels right for me, not even just in terms of what makes me happy professionally, but as far as, you know, am I feeling recharged by what's around me, or am I heading in a direction that's draining me? Are there situations or people that make me something doesn't feel right? And by staying present in that way and staying dialed in, it takes a lot of pressure off of the new year. Honestly, it feels so nice to just sit here and chat. Imagine if this is the first time that you're coming across me and this is my first impression. If you're from any other part of my community, I appreciate you. I hope that this finds you guys, because I feel comfortable sitting here and chatting with the people that are in my comment sections all the time on other platforms. You all have really healed a part of me, and it's very, very fun doing life with you. Also, for this face, I used some of my favorite products from this year. I can't get over this blurring. I don't use any filters on my TikTok videos, so maybe it's just my screen that looks like this. I have actually another camera that I bought a long time ago. I don't know if that one will be better. We'll see how you guys like this. I would show you B, but he's sleeping and I don't want to wake him up. Let me know what tea you guys are having, what tea is happening, what makeup products you've been loving, and I'll see you next time.